Jin Park looked out the window of her small rental car as she drove along the coastal road. The morning sun made the sea sparkle like diamonds. She was tired after her long flight from Sewell to Northern Ireland, but the beautiful view kept her awake. The GPS told her she was only 10 minutes away from her destination, the Carrick-a-Rede research station. At 32 years old, Jin was one of South Korea's top marine biologists. She had studied oceans all over the world, but something about this place was different. The water readings from this area showed strange patterns that no one could explain. That's why she had traveled halfway across the world to study them. The research station came into view as she drove around a bend in the road. It was a modern building made of glass and steel, sitting on top of the cliffs. Behind it, she could see the famous rope bridge that connected the mainland to the tiny island of Carrick-a-Rede. The bridge swayed gently in the wind. Jin parked her car and took a deep breath of the clean ocean air. It was much cooler here than in Seoul, and she pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders. She grabbed her laptop bag and walked to the station's front door. The security guard checked her ID card and gave her a warm smile. "Welcome to Carrick-a-Rede, Dr. Park," he said in a friendly Irish accent. "Dr. Wilson is waiting for you in the main lab." The inside of the station was quiet and clean. The walls were lined with screens showing different ocean measurements, water temperature, salt levels, and other readings Jin understood well. But one screen caught her eye. It showed energy patterns in the water that looked unlike anything she had seen before. Dr. Wilson, an older man with gray hair, walked up to greet her. "Dr. Park, welcome. I see you've already noticed our mysterious readings." "Yes," Jin said, pointing to the screen. "These patterns don't make sense. The energy levels are too high for normal ocean currents." "That's why we asked you to come," Dr. Wilson said. "You're the best at understanding unusual ocean patterns. The strange readings started 6 months ago, and they're getting stronger." Jin put down her bag and walked closer to the screen. The numbers seemed to follow a pattern, almost like a heartbeat. But that was impossible, wasn't it? "I'd like to start work right away," she said. "Can I see the testing equipment?" Dr. Wilson smiled and led her to a room filled with advanced machines. Through the window, she could see the rope bridge and the island. The view was beautiful, but Jin's mind was focused on the mystery in the water below. She spent the next few hours checking the equipment and looking at old data. Everything seemed to be working correctly, which meant the strange readings were real. As the sun began to set, Jin decided to take a walk to clear her head. She walked out onto the cliff path that led to the rope bridge. The wind had died down, and the ocean was calm. Standing there, Jin felt very peaceful, even though she knew she was looking at something science couldn't explain. A movement in the water caught her eye. For a second, she thought she saw a light deep under the surface, but when she looked again, it was gone. Jin smiled to herself. She was probably just tired from her long trip. As she walked back to the station, Jin didn't know that her greatest discovery was about to begin. The peaceful waters around Carrick-a-Rede held secrets beyond her wildest dreams, and soon she would be the first human to learn the truth. The next morning, Jin arrived at the research station early. She wanted to start her work before the tourists came to visit the rope bridge. As she walked to her new office, she saw a man standing by the water testing equipment. He wore the green uniform of the local tour guides, but something about him made her pause. The man was looking at the computer screens with too much understanding in his eyes. Most tour guides wouldn't know how to read complex ocean data. He touched one of the screens and changed some numbers faster than Jin had ever seen anyone work. "Excuse me," she said, walking closer. "I don't think you should be touching that equipment." The man turned around smoothly, not surprised at all by her presence. He had friendly eyes and a gentle smile. "Good morning, Dr. Park. I'm Jae-ho Kim." His Korean pronunciation was perfect, which was strange for someone working at an Irish tourist site. "How do you know my name?" He-Jin asked. She hadn't told anyone except Dr. Wilson that she was coming. Jai-Ho's smile grew wider. I know many things about you, Dr. Park. Your research on deep ocean currents is very impressive, especially your theory about underwater communication networks. He-Jin felt confused. That research wasn't public yet. She had only finished writing it last month. Who are you really? She asked. You're not a tour guide. You're right, Jai-Ho said. He looked out at the ocean, then back at He-Jin. I am an observer. My people have been watching your work with great interest. Your people? He-Jin felt her heart beat faster. The strange readings in the water, the mysterious lights she had seen. Suddenly things started to make sense. Jai-Ho nodded. We live in the waters around this island. We have stayed hidden for centuries, but your research started to detect our energy signals. The council decided it was time to make contact. He-Jin sat down in a nearby chair. She was a scientist. She dealt with facts and proof. But somehow, she knew Jai-Ho was telling the truth. You're not human, she said simply. No, Jai-Ho agreed. My people are called the Marins. We are an aquatic civilization. We chose this place long ago because the unique magnetic fields hide our energy signatures. But your new research methods are very good, too good to stay hidden from. Instead of fear, He-Jin felt excitement growing inside her. This was why she had become a scientist, to discover new things about the world. The lights I saw yesterday in the water, that was your people. Yes, we were curious about you too. Jai-Ho walked to the window and pointed to the calm ocean below. Would you like to learn more? My people believe you are someone we can trust, someone who will understand the importance of peaceful contact between our civilizations. He-Jin stood up and joined him at the window. The morning sun made the water glow with a beautiful blue light. Why me? She asked. Because you study the ocean with respect, Jai-Ho explained. You don't just take samples and readings. You try to understand the patterns and connections. That's very important to my people. He-Jin thought about all the mysterious data she had seen. Those energy patterns, they're your communication network, aren't they? Jai-Ho smiled again. Very good. Yes, we use the natural energy flows of the ocean to carry our signals. That's why your research caught our attention. You were getting close to understanding our methods. What happens now? He-Jin asked. Now, Jai-Ho said, if you're willing, you can help us begin peaceful contact between our peoples. But everything must stay quiet at first. We need to be careful about how we reveal ourselves to your world. He-Jin looked at the peaceful waters around Carrick-a-Rede. This place had always felt special to her, even before she arrived. Now she knew why. I would be honored to help, she said. As the first tourists started arriving at the rope bridge, He-Jin and Jai-Ho began planning how to bring two civilizations together. The peaceful morning felt like the start of something amazing. Later that afternoon, Jai-Ho led He-Jin to a small cove hidden beneath the cliffs. The tourists never came to this spot because the path was too difficult to find. The water was very calm here, protected from the wind by tall rocks. Our main entrance is down there, Jai-Ho explained, pointing to the clear water. Would you like to see our city? He-Jin looked at the water with concern. I can't breathe underwater, she said. Jai-Ho reached into his bag and took out what looked like a thin necklace made of clear crystal. This will help you breathe underwater. It creates a small bubble of air around your head. We use them when we visit the surface. He-Jin carefully put on the necklace. It felt warm against her skin. Jai-Ho handed her a similar one for her hands. This will protect you from the cold water, he explained. They walked into the water together. He-Jin held her breath at first, but when she went under the surface, she found she could breathe normally. A bubble of clean air surrounded her head like a diving helmet. Her hands stayed warm and dry inside their own air bubble. Jai-Ho led her deeper into the water. As they swam down, He-Jin saw lights beginning to shine in the darkness. Soon she could see a large shape ahead. It was a city built into the underwater cliffs. The buildings looked like they were made of crystal and living coral. They glowed with soft blue and green light. "Welcome to Marin City," Jiho said. His voice came clearly through the water. "We have lived here for over 500 years." Hejin saw Marin people swimming around the buildings. They looked mostly human, but their skin had a slight blue color, and their eyes were larger. They wore simple clothes made of something that moved smoothly in the water. Jiho took her to a large building in the center of the city. Inside, the water was kept out by energy fields. They walked through into a dry room where several older Marins sat in a circle. One of them, a man with silver hair, stood up to greet them. "Dr. Park, welcome. I am Elder Daesung," he said. "We have watched your research with great interest. You are the first human to visit our city in many years." "Your city is beautiful," Hejin said. "But why have you stayed hidden for so long?" Elder Daesung gestured to a large screen on the wall. It showed a map of ocean currents around the world. "Long ago, we chose to hide from humans because we feared how they might react to us. This location is perfect because the magnetic fields hide our energy signatures. We use the natural patterns of the ocean to power our city and carry our communications." "The energy readings I detected," Hejin said. "They were from your city." "Yes," Daesung nodded. "Our scientists have watched your work carefully. You understand the ocean in a way few humans do. We believe you can help us." "Help you with what?" Hejin asked. "The ocean is changing," another elder explained. "Human activities are affecting the currents and magnetic fields we depend on. We need to find a way to protect our home. But more than that, we think it's time to work with humans to protect all ocean life." Hejin thought about the years she had spent studying ocean patterns. "That's why I became a marine biologist," she said, "to protect the oceans." Elder Daesung smiled. "Then we made the right choice in contacting you. Will you help us plan how to reveal ourselves to your world? We need someone who understands both science and the importance of peace." Hejin looked around at the beautiful underwater city. She thought about all the things humans and Marins could learn from each other. "Yes," she said, "I will help you." As she and Jiho left the council chamber, Hejin saw more of the city. Marin children played in water gardens. Scientists worked in laboratories built into the coral. Everything worked in harmony with the ocean around it. She knew her life would never be the same after today. 1 week after Hejin's first visit to the underwater city, she sat in her office at the research station reviewing her notes. The door opened, and Dr. Wilson walked in with a woman Hejin had never seen before. "Dr. Park, this is Dr. Sun-Mi Lee," Dr. Wilson said. "She's a linguistics expert from the University of Seoul. Elder Daesung suggested we bring her into our project." Hejin stood up to greet the new arrival. Sun-Mi was shorter than Hejin, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She carried a tablet filled with strange symbols that Hejin recognized from the Marin city. "I've been studying these patterns for years," Sun-Mi explained, showing Hejin her tablet. "I thought they were just unusual wave patterns, but they're actually the Marin written language, aren't they?" "Yes," Hejin said. "They use water currents to write messages. Jiho showed me their library yesterday. They record their history in patterns of moving water." Jiho arrived a few minutes later. He brought small devices that looked like seashells. "These are our teaching tools," he said. "They will help you understand our language better. We use them to teach our children." Sun-Mi picked up one of the shells with careful hands. When she touched it, it projected a pattern of light and moving water into the air. The pattern changed as she moved her fingers. "It's like writing in water," Sun-Mi said with wonder. "Each movement makes a different sound or meaning." They spent the morning learning the basics of the Marin language. Jiho explained that Marins could speak like humans, but their natural language was more like singing underwater. The patterns of water and light worked together to share meaning. In the afternoon, they all went down to the hidden cove. Hejin and Sun-Mi put on their breathing necklaces and Jiho took them to a different part of the city. This area had large open spaces where Marin children learned and played. A young Marin teacher named Myre welcomed them to her classroom. The children were learning about surface life, and they were very excited to meet real humans. "Can you tell us about the sky?" one small boy asked. He had never been to the surface. Hejin and Sunmai spent an hour telling the children about life above the water. The children asked many questions about birds, clouds, and what it felt like to walk instead of swim. In return, they showed the humans their favorite ocean games. Later, Hejin watched as Sunmai worked with Myre to create a new teaching program. They were finding ways to help humans and Marins learn each other's languages. The shell devices would be perfect for teaching humans the water language. "This is going better than we hoped," Jiho said to Hejin as they watched. "Sunmai understands our language patterns so quickly, and the children are already comfortable with humans." Hejin nodded. Children don't have the same fears adults do. They just want to learn and make friends. That evening, as the three humans sat in Hejin's office planning their next steps, she felt very hopeful. Sunmai was already writing a guide to help other humans learn the Marin language. Dr. Wilson was planning how to slowly prepare the scientific community for the truth about the underwater city. "We need to be careful," Sunmai said. "But I think people will accept the Marins when they see how much we can learn from each other." Hejin looked out her window at the peaceful ocean. Somewhere down there, Myre was probably telling her students about their exciting day with the surface people. Small steps like this would help bring their two worlds together. 1 month after the cultural exchange program began, Elder Daesung called an important meeting. The Marin Council needed to make a big decision about their future. Hejin, Sunmai, and Jiho sat in the Grand Council chamber, surrounded by all 12 Marin elders. "The time has come," Elder Daesung said, his voice serious but kind. "We must decide if we should reveal ourselves to all humans, not just a few trusted friends." The chamber was quiet except for the gentle sound of moving water. Hejin looked around at the beautiful room. The walls showed moving patterns of light that told the history of the Marin people. She had learned to read some of these stories over the past month. Elder Daesung touched a crystal on his desk. A large image appeared in the center of the room. It showed the ocean temperatures changing over the past 100 years. "Our home is changing," he said. "The warming waters affect our city's power systems. We need help to protect our way of life." Another elder named Sora stood up. "But can we trust all humans? Some might want to use our technology for wrong purposes. We have stayed safe by staying hidden." "That is why we are here," Jiho said, looking at Hejin and Sunmai, "to show that humans and Marins can work together. Our test program has been very successful." Hejin stood up to speak. She felt nervous, but she knew this was important. "In the past month, we have learned so much from each other. Your ways of using ocean energy could help humans stop harming the environment, and we could help protect your city from the changing climate." Sunmai added her thoughts next. "The children in Myre's class already see us as friends. They don't think about the differences between our peoples. They just want to learn and share." The council members talked for many hours. They discussed the good and bad things that might happen if they revealed themselves to the world. Some were worried about safety. Others were excited about sharing their knowledge. Finally, Elder Daesung asked Hejin, Sunmai, and Jiho to wait outside. The council needed to vote on their decision. The three friends walked through the underwater gardens while they waited. Beautiful fish swam between plants that glowed with soft light. "Whatever they decide," Sunmai said, "we have already changed history. Humans and Marins are working together for the first time in centuries." Jiho smiled. "Yes, and nothing can undo the friendship we have built." After 2 hours, they were called back to the council chamber. Elder Daesung stood in the center of the room. His face was serious but happy. "We have made our decision," he said. "The council has voted to reveal ourselves to the human world, but we will do it slowly and carefully. We trust you three to help us plan the right way." Jin felt relief and joy fill her heart. She looked at her friends and saw the same happiness in their faces. They knew this decision would change both their worlds forever. "We want to show you something," Elder Daesung said. He led them to a special room they had never seen before. Inside was a huge map of the ocean floor. "This is our gift to humanity. We can show you how to clean the oceans and stop the warming of the waters. Together, we can save our shared home." As they looked at the map, Jin thought about how much had changed since she first came to Carrick-a-Rede. What started as a strange scientific reading had led to the start of a new age for both their peoples. The next phase of their work began with careful planning. Jin, Sunmai, and Jiho spent many days preparing documents and presentations. They needed to introduce the Marin civilization to the world in a way that would not cause fear or panic. Dr. Wilson helped them bring in a new team member, a young scientist named Yoon-ho Choi. He was an expert at recording and sharing scientific discoveries. His job would be to document everything about the first official contact between humans and Marins. "We should start with the scientific community," Yoon-ho suggested during their first meeting. "Scientists will understand the importance of working together to save the oceans." Jin agreed. "We can show them the water cleaning technology first. That will help them see how valuable the Marin knowledge is." They decided to begin with a small group of trusted marine scientists from different countries. The team prepared the research station for the first official visit. They set up special rooms where the scientists could talk to Marin experts through screens that worked underwater. The day before the first meeting, a new Marin arrived at the station. Her name was Yuri, and she was one of their best scientists. She would explain how Marin technology worked with the ocean's natural energy. "Our ancestors learned that fighting against nature never works," Yuri told them as they set up the equipment. "We must work with the ocean's patterns, not against them." The first meeting went better than they hoped. The visiting scientists were amazed by the Marin technology. They asked many questions, but none showed fear or distrust. Instead, they were excited about working together to help the oceans. Yoon-ho recorded everything carefully. He took pictures and videos that they would share later with more people. He also wrote about how the scientists reacted to meeting the Marins. "The most important thing," he said while writing his notes, "is that everyone can see this is about working together for good reasons. We're not hiding anything. We're showing how two civilizations can help each other." After the scientists left, more visitors started coming to the research station. These were carefully chosen people from environmental groups and ocean protection organizations. Each time, Yuri and other Marins showed them new ways to clean the oceans and use water energy safely. One day, a group of students from a marine biology school visited the station. They were the first young humans to learn about the Marins. Jin watched as Yuri showed them how to use the water writing tools. The students learned quickly and soon were talking excitedly with Marin students through the underwater screens. "This is how it should be," Sunmai said as they watched. Young people learning from each other without fear or prejudice. The integration was happening slowly but smoothly. Each week, more people learned about the Marins. News about the underwater civilization was carefully shared with the world's leaders. The research station became very busy as scientists and environmental experts came from many countries. Jin felt proud of their work. She remembered how nervous she had been when she first met Jiho. Now, just a few months later, humans and Marins were working together every day. The peaceful waters around Carrick-a-Rede had become a place where two civilizations could meet and learn from each other. 6 months after the first scientists learned about the Marins, the research station at Carrick-a-Rede underwent significant changes. The small building transformed into the world's first human Marin research center. Jin and Jiho worked together as its directors, leading teams from both civilizations in their shared mission to protect the oceans. The famous rope bridge became more than just a tourist attraction. It now represented the connection between the surface world and the underwater city. The Marins built a special elevator hidden in the rocks near the bridge. This allowed them to visit the research center without being seen by regular tourists. One morning, Ho-Jin stood on the bridge looking down at the water. She remembered her first day here, when she had noticed strange readings in the ocean. Now she understood those readings perfectly. They were the normal activities of the Marin city going about its daily life. Thinking deep thoughts, Jai-ho asked as he joined her on the bridge. He had just come up from the underwater city using the new elevator. I was remembering how all this started, Ho-Jin replied. It feels like a long time ago, but it has only been 6 months. They walked together to the research center. Inside, the building had changed completely. One whole floor was filled with water, allowing Marin scientists to work in their natural environment. Special windows and communication systems let humans and Marins work together easily. Sunmai had established a language center where people could learn to understand Marin water writing. She worked with Mirei to create teaching programs for both civilizations. Their methods were so successful that other research centers around the world wanted to use them. Yoon-ho continued his important work of recording everything. He created detailed documents about how humans and Marins learned to work together. His reports helped other places prepare for contact with the Marins. Thanks to his careful work, people understood that the Marins came in peace. The research center focused on 3 main areas of study. The first was ocean cleanup, using Marin technology to remove pollution from the water. The second was developing new forms of clean energy based on the Marins' understanding of ocean currents. The third was protecting marine life, combining human and Marin knowledge to help endangered species. One of their biggest projects involved tracking changes in ocean temperature. Marin scientists shared their records of ocean temperatures going back hundreds of years. This information helped human scientists better understand how to stop climate change. We received approval for the new training program, Jai-ho told Ho-Jin as they checked the day's reports. Starting next month, we can accept students from marine science programs around the world. Ho-Jin smiled at this news. Teaching young scientists from both civilizations would help ensure their cooperation continued far into the future. The research center would become a place where new generations could learn to work together. That evening, Ho-Jin watched the sunset from the rope bridge again. Below the waves, she could see the lights of Marin vessels moving between the city and the research center. Above her, stars began appearing in the darkening sky. The bridge seemed to connect not just the island to the mainland, but the ocean to the sky, the past to the future. The peaceful waters around Carrick-a-Rede had become a place of connection and hope. Here, 2 civilizations had learned to share their knowledge and work together for a better future. The bridge that had once seemed simple now stood for something much more important, the bridging of 2 worlds. 1 year had passed since Ho-Jin first arrived at Carrick-a-Rede. The research center had grown into a thriving community where humans and Marins worked together every day. On this special anniversary, Ho-Jin sat in her office completing an important document, the official guide for peaceful contact between humans and Marins. The guide would help other locations around the world prepare for cooperation with Marin communities. Several other underwater cities had decided to reveal themselves, following the successful example at Carrick-a-Rede. Ho-Jin looked up from her work as Sunmai entered the office. The language program is now being used in 20 different countries, Sunmai reported with pride. Children everywhere are learning to understand Marin water writing. Through the special windows of her office, Ho-Jin could see Marin scientists working in the water-filled laboratories below. They were testing new ways to clean plastic pollution from the oceans. Their methods had already helped clean several major ocean areas. Jai-ho joined them, bringing news from the underwater city. Elder Dae-sun wants to speak with us, he said. The council has made some important decisions about the future. Together, they took the elevator down to the Marin city. The underwater streets were busier now, with both Marins and humans in special diving suits moving about their daily work. They'd reached the council chamber, where Elder Dae-sun waited with a happy expression. Your work has exceeded all our hopes, the elder said. The council has voted to open 3 more joint research centers around the world. We want you to help establish them. The Jinn felt honored by this trust. She remembered how uncertain everything had seemed 1 year ago. Now, the cooperation between humans and Marins was changing the world for the better. Yunho had documented all these changes in his reports. His careful records showed how the 2 civilizations learned to trust each other. These records would help future generations understand the importance of working together. The ocean cleanup project is ahead of schedule, Jaiho reported to the council. The Marin technology, combined with human resources, works better than we expected. The waters are becoming cleaner every day. After the meeting, He-Jin walked with her friends to the special garden where they had first planned the integration. Young Marin and human students were there, working together to plant new types of coral that could survive in warmer waters. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Sunlei asked as they watched the students work. He-Jin shook her head. When I first came here, I only wanted to understand some strange readings in the water. Instead, we found a whole new civilization and a better way to protect our planet. That evening, they all gathered on the famous rope bridge to watch the sunset. Below them, the lights of the underwater city glowed softly. Above them, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Human and Marin children played together in the research center's pools, their laughter carrying across the peaceful water. This is just the beginning, Jaiho said quietly. Think of all the things we will discover together in the years to come. He-Jin looked out over the ocean that had brought their civilizations together. The peaceful waters around Carrick-a-Rede had started a change that would help both their peoples. As the sun set on another day, she knew that this was not an ending, but the start of a new chapter in the story of 2 worlds learning to work as one.